to Sex and Sensibility, a podcast about making sense of sex and relationships. I'm Mary Zoso, your wholesome holistic sex coach.
I'm Wesley Fenza.
And I'm Gina with an exclamation point at the end. That's how I sign in.
All right, Mary, you chose our topic for today. So what is it?
We're talking about healing through kink, like using kink techniques and stuff for healing, which is
well, my outline says right here, which is the first thing I thought of. What does this even mean?
Yeah. So basically, the kink community has all of these things that they do, these kinds of norms and stuff like that, which include things like safe words and consent and stuff like that.
And risk awareness.
And risk awareness and communication things and all kinds of stuff. And play is kind of the maybe the most important part is they play with stuff. And you can use all of that stuff for healing. And you can do it in a sexual way or in a non-sexual way. There's just like so many things that you can use it for. And part of it is just like terminology, because we're doing a lot of this stuff anyway in non-kinky contexts. Like
what?
Like if you tap out in wrestling or martial arts or something, that's the same thing as a safe word, for example.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much the same.
Yeah, we have boundaries in many different contexts, not just kink, but they're like very intentional about boundaries in kink. So it can be a useful framing for some people. For some people, it doesn't resonate and they're just like, ew, gross. I don't want anything to do with that. And that's fine. But for people who find it fun, it can be really useful.
What if I'm not particularly kinky?
You can totally ignore this, or you can use it as just a way to think about things differently and, use some things if you want, or just reject all of it, whatever you want to do.
All right, good to know. So how do you do it?
The thing that makes it healing is the play, like I said. So you're kind of playing with things that maybe happened in the past or something. You are playing with your desires. So a big part of this is figuring out what you want, which is another thing in kink. Like there's a lot of figuring out what you want and communicating what you want. If you're doing it with a partner. So,
I don't know. Sounds impossible. How do you figure out what you want if you don't know?
Part of it is like the first step is just actually paying attention to what you want. So if you're not used to doing that, that can be a hard first step. But if you have other people in your life who also are interested in what you want, they can help you encourage that. And they can do that when you tell them that you would like for them to do that. Just paying attention to what you want, maybe pausing before you say yes or no to a thing. If someone's like, do you want ice cream? Rather than just being agreeable.
What kind of question is that?
So Wes, you know what you want.
And it's ice cream.
But sometimes we're not sure, and we can say, I don't know, and then give ourselves time to think about it and then decide.
Now I'm just thinking about how like BDSM meetups, like when you're meeting people just like in town and stuff like that, they call them munches. So now I'm thinking about it in terms of Wes just wanting ice cream and showing up at one of those things and being like, how is this going to get me ice cream?
I'm sure that's a kink.
Yeah, it's totally a kink.
I have an ice cream kink. I need people to feed me ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not sexual. I just like ice cream.
It doesn't have to be. There's all kinds of kink that is not sexual.
What? I never heard that.
Yeah, they dress up in all kinds of costumes and they role play stuff, and like maybe they have sex or maybe they don't.
All right. So let's say I figured out what I want. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Then so there's kind of different levels of wanting things. There's kind of surface wants and deeper wants, kind of short-term wants and long-term wants. So like the ice cream is the really good short-term one. There might be consequences of the ice cream,
There always are.
You might have to balance that with your long-term wants and have a reasonable amount of ice cream, or not eat it all the time every single day, but so you've gotta look at like your deeper wants as well. Sometimes it helps to also figure out, especially when there are conflicting wants, figure out where these wants came from. Because sometimes you think you want one thing, but you actually deep down want something else. So maybe you think you want to, I don't know, have an affair with some new person, but what you actually want is validation, and to feel sexy or something like that. So sometimes we have like different layers to our wants.
That's true. And sometimes our brain lies to us about them.
Yes.
So Robin Hanson wrote a book called The Elephant in the Brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically about that. That the idea is that you cannot actually get to know your own motivations, because that would be bad for you if you did.
Why?
Because a lot of life relies on your ability to signal that your motivations are good and noble and pro-social. But actually, a lot of your motivations are antisocial and selfish. And so what your brain does is it doesn't allow you conscious access to that, because it's really hard to lie to people. And apparently it's easier to lie to yourself. So the idea is you have an inner press secretary that lives in your brain, takes all your motivations. This is Robin Hanson's actual illustration. So it takes all your motivations that you have and then funnels them to like socially acceptable ideas, and that's what it tells your conscious brain that you're motivated by.
That is a thing that does happen, but I think you can, I know you can get around that and live in alignment with your own values and actually be honest with yourself.
You can, but it's difficult.
It is, and most people don't do it that much.
I was gonna say I feel like I'm a recent recovery of this kind of thing, because I feel like I, up until I don't know, several months ago, was lying to myself about a lot of motivations for why I was doing things. But it was all about trying to figure out whether I was a good person or a bad person, and whether it was okay to be a bad person. And I spent a lot of time figuring out definitions for good and bad and all those kinds of things. But I feel like I was just kind of in denial about it. I kept trying to make everything seem more noble than it was. And that was very upsetting, actually, because my press secretary was doing a pretty bad job. I'm pretty sure. Because the press secretary was going and like talking to Wes about it. And he would be like, what are you talking about?
That's not what you want. So if you wanted that out of the situation, you'd be behaving completely differently.
Yeah, basically.
But that's how I get around it, actually, is I just try to take an outside view. And I say, like, if I saw another person behaving this way, what would I think they were motivated by? And that's how I try to compensate for it, is I try to take an objective view of my own behavior and be like, why did I do that? Let's ignore the voice in my head telling me that I did it because I'm such a great person and noble and, selfless and because I care so much, and just look at it from an objective perspective and say, what was I doing there? And what did that accomplish?
Yeah, that's basically shadow work. Like that's, yeah.
Oh no, you tricked me into doing shadow work.
Yeah, it's shadow work. It's figuring out, like looking at your patterns and figuring out why you do the things that you do, like what you actually want, that you're not admitting to yourself and everyone else, and then bringing your actual deep down hidden wants into alignment with your actions.
I feel like kink would actually be a really helpful thing to do for that, especially if it's sexual for you, because you get a pretty clear indication of what you actually like and what you don't.
Yes. Yeah. And like, so the way it works with kink is a lot of times we have these weird kinks, like some of them are super weird. Maybe you like drinking piss. Maybe you like, being treated like a footstool. Like where did that come from? And if you dig around a little, you can find something in your past. So like, for example, for me, I found I had this objectification kink. I liked being treated like a mindless toy or whatever. It goes back to my mother treating me like a doll, like without real feelings or whatever. So I was trying to recreate this feeling of being treated as an object, but do it in a place where I was in control and I could stop it and I could change it and I could, make it whatever I needed it to be. So I could like change the ending of the story, and I could do this over and over and over again. Until it felt safe. Like then people could treat me like I'm not a human being, and I don't feel like I have to stay in there. I don't feel like I'm actually powerless. I know that I'm not powerless, and I can stop it at any time. So there's this play element that changes, I don't know, reroutes the neural pathways or something like that.
So is it like a form of exposure therapy?
Yes. Yeah. Very closely related to that.
Yeah. Because what I always heard about exposure therapy is that the idea is you expose yourself to the thing you're afraid of little by little, but it only works if you feel like you're entirely in control.
Yeah.
And can stop at any time.
Yeah. And this, it's doing the same kind of thing. So it doesn't have to necessarily be little by little. You can like really get into that feeling of like objectification or whatever. But the difference is it's playful, and you have chosen it. So yeah, we're feeling different emotions in the same situation and feeling a sense of control.
So I see here on my outline, it says something about making sure you do this intentionally. What's the danger there?
So if you find that you're drawn to some of these kinks, let's say again with the objectification thing, you can do it without intention. You can do it without knowing where it came from or without knowing what kind of ending you need. And maybe it'll all work out. But on the other hand, sometimes your partner or whatever situation you're in, they don't know what ending you need. And so they don't give you the ending that you need. They might give you the ending that you're used to getting, which is exactly what you don't want. Then you're just reinforcing the old stuff. And so that is the danger there. If you don't know why you're drawn to this thing or what you're trying to heal with it, because we have this like unconscious desire to heal. Sometimes it's just for fun, and that's fine too. But sometimes we're trying to fix something unconsciously. And if we just dive into it and say, I like being treated like an object, like a worthless thing or whatever, then the other person hears that and they're like, okay, great, I can do that. And they treat you like a worthless object. And then you end up just feeling like a worthless object, and it doesn't help anything at all. And you just feel worse.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it would be helpful. So how do you make it helpful?
you communicate, you figure out what it is that you want, you figure out where it came from, you talk to whoever you're doing this with, if you're doing it with a person, tell them what you need. And usually most partners are like, fuck yeah, this sounds great, let's do it. And they will give you whatever it is that you need if you can communicate that to them.
So is it about like identifying what was the harmful part of the story? Or like the thing that happened to you, like assuming you're processing a past trauma using this. Is it about identifying the harmful part of the experience and then sort of recreating the rest of the experience around it without the harmful part?
Sort of. So it's identifying how you internalized the experience. So it's very metaphorical. So even if you don't remember everything that happened or whatever, basically you came out of that experience with some kind of like message about who you are and yourself and things like that. Maybe you're worthless. Maybe you're, can't trust people, like any number of things. You want to get that message and turn it around and turn it on its head and play with it. So instead of being this like big hunk of spiky rock, you're going to turn it into Play-Doh and make it into what you want.
And how can you, as the person on the inside of this, how can you tell the difference?
Between what?
Reinforcing the old pattern and tweaking it enough so you're healing from it.
I mean, if you do something like, especially if you're doing it unconsciously and you come out of the situation, like you felt drawn to this kink and like wanting to enact something, and you come out of it feeling like garbage, then that's a good clue that you might be, reinforcing stuff.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But you can also, if you come out of it feeling good, that's probably a good sign. And it takes time to undo old patterns and kind of create new patterns and new neural pathways. So it's not like an immediate thing necessarily, but a lot of it is how it feels at the end.
And is there a specific, like a process you recommend? Maybe that you have written down into outline form?
That's the process for building a foundation of psychological safety. So I would say
a foundation of psychological safety. Sounds like a bunch of hokum to me.
So this is how to do it safely. So first, do some reflection and figure out what you're drawn to and why. So, what are your kinks? Where did they come from? Could they, and a lot of times they're very metaphorical. So they're not literal. If you have a like CNC rape fantasy kink, that does not mean that you actually want to be raped. It does not mean that you have some like rape past experience at all. Totally unrelated. And it's going to mean different things for different people. So maybe maybe you're afraid of feeling powerless, or maybe you, I don't know, it could be any number of things. But do some reflection on why you're drawn to this. Communicate.
I've heard that a lot of CNC kinks are about the desire to have a sexual experience while not being able, like not being in a position to be blamed for it.
It can be. It can be that. It's gonna look different for different people. Two people can have exactly the same kink for completely different reasons. And they're gonna need different endings to their story. That's why you can't just assume that your partner will know what ending you need. You have to communicate that. It's really a good idea to communicate whatever it is. If you don't, you are putting the other person in a situation where they might hurt you, and they almost definitely do not want to do that. And it's kind of not cool to put them in that position if you can avoid it. You want to maintain your own agency throughout the process. So part of that is taking responsibility for the consequences. So maybe you mess it up at some point and get it wrong, and you do get hurt and you feel triggered and you know, have a bad time. You know, at that point you need to be like, oh, oops, okay, that's interesting information to have. I will do it differently next time. Not like, you know, saying to your partner, like, you did this to me. This is terrible. Why did you do that to me? Like, don't do that. Yeah, you're in charge of your own healing. You want to set yourself up for success. Part of that is arranging for aftercare, communicating what kind of aftercare you need.
What if you don't know what kind of aftercare you need?
That's part of the reflection and getting in touch with what you want and what you're drawn to. Aftercare is something that we're drawn to because we also have very unique aftercare needs. And DOMs need aftercare too. People don't realize that, but especially in something like this where somebody could get triggered or something like that, like the Dom, you know, needs to be reassured that everything is okay. So everybody should have some kind of aftercare plan.
Is there a good starter aftercare you'd recommend to someone just getting into it?
So some of the standard things that people do are like getting like some kind of like warm, comfy blanket sort of thing. Having some kind of snack with protein that is comforting, water, hydrate, things like that. There's kind of, cause a lot of these, depending on exactly what you're doing, if it's all psychological, you will have fewer physical needs, but sometimes we're doing like working with pain and all kinds of stuff. So that can be very physically intense. So you also want to, you know, have like, you know, be ready to like treat wounds if you're going that direction and things like that. So it depends on what you're doing, but it is both a physical and psychological process that's going on, even when it's for fun, even when there isn't any danger of getting triggered or any of that stuff. It's you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Cuddling is often very nice, and that's good for reassuring all parties that everybody's okay and happy with how things went. You want to arrange for support in case you do miscalculate and it goes wrong. That can be like being able to call a friend or something. That can be with the partner that you're working with if you have that kind of relationship. I think that's the process.
Do you recommend any kind of like debriefing session for afterward? And is that part of the aftercare, or is that something that should come later?
So it can be part of the aftercare if you're in like a headspace for that. It can also come later. Sometimes that's a little heavy to deal with when everyone's kind of like exhausted and feeling mentally mushy. But communicating about how it went. Was there anything, that maybe could have gone differently? Was it helpful? Was it fun? Things like that.
All right. So I see something on here about different roles that you can take in this sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So there's kind of like the sort of obvious dominant and submissive roles. A lot of people have some of that. It does not have to have that at all. A lot of people have ideas about what those roles should look like. And sometimes their ideas about it are not super helpful. So with
like
dominance, people think you can't you can't be vulnerable. You can't show emotions except for maybe like anger or disappointment or, one of those stereotypical dominant emotions. But
well, yeah, if you're being dominant, you're supposed to, be completely in control and, not have any of your own needs. And be all about just controlling the experience,
right? And I would argue that is not the healthiest way to go about it, because no one is infallible, and pretending that you are is allowing yourself to be ruled by your own insecurities. So showing up and being authentic is much, I would say, more courageous and therefore more dominant. And also displaying false confidence undermines your ability to experience a deeper, more sincere confidence. So you're kind of eroding your own power by not showing up authentically and not being willing to be vulnerable.
How do you balance being authentic as a dom versus playing a role?
So you can, as long as you're playing, then it's not inauthentic. So like if you're just playing around trying on hats, that's not being inauthentic. If you're being like, I am in control all the time and this is who I am, and pretending and acting like it's a permanent part of your character, then you're being inauthentic.
So you don't recommend method acting?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a, yeah.
No one should ever recommend method acting. I feel like method acting is one of those things where you like, it's like the intentionality of it goes out the window because you're like, the only way I can access this is if I live in the moment exactly of this horrible thing that happened to me. And I'm, now I'm there again. And how do you turn that off? It can be, based on what I've heard about like Jared Leto, and nobody wants to be a Jared Leto in this situation. From what I understand.
I'm going to title this episode, Nobody Wants to be Jared Leto.
Daniel Day-Lewis, better. But I feel like no one listening to this has really any true clue who he is. So he's the other method actor, but I haven't heard horrible stories about him sending condoms full of pee to his coworkers.
Jared Leto did that.
He did. He was like, I'm the Joker. This is the kind of jerk I am. So.
Funny joke. All right. So that's vulnerable dominance. Mm-hmm. What about empowered submissiveness? Sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah. So if you think about like wanting to kind of give up power, you have to be empowered yourself in order to do that. So if you're just pretending you don't have any power as like a permanent part of your personality, then you don't have any power to give up. So by empowering yourself, that allows you to also empower the other person. So if you are not communicating your needs and desires, and in order to communicate them, you have to figure out what they are. If you're not doing that, then you're eroding the other person's autonomy and consent and undermining their authority. So they need to have the information in order to, dominate you or kind of play the dominant role. If you're holding that back, and if you're not figuring it out yourself, then you're disempowering everyone. Let's see. You also.
So is the idea that you can't actually submit to someone if you don't have any power and authority to give up in the first place?
Yeah. It's not real submission. in my opinion.
That's really interesting. I feel like I've been quiet this episode so far because I'm exceptionally historically not kinky in a sexual context. But I started thinking about how the implications of these kinds of things in non-sexual life. And I found that I was able to deal with a lot of situations like at my job by messing around with taking power, so dominating and submitting in different situations. And I realized, like, because it's all sort of the same motivation. Where I was finding, I was perpetually stressed out about a bunch of situations where I was taking responsibility for other people's feelings and what how they looked at and stuff like that. And also at the same time sort of believing that only I could handle the situation. Like I am the leader here, the only one capable of doing whatever it was that needed to happen at the time. And I made great strides to reduce the stress there when I very consciously picked the things that I could control, and I am the best person to do that. And I would take that leadership role on very specifically to say, like, okay, here's my plan, here's what I want to do. You're going to do this for me because we have a shared goal. But at the same time, the thing that was actually more surprising to me, that was like a chilling out factor for me, was going, this is a thing that I'm pretty sure that other person can do. And I'm going to trust that they can. So I'm going to let them do it. And I started ceding control of certain things, just assuming it was going to work out. And that if it didn't, I didn't then react to it in a, see, only I can do this. I should have been the leader all the time. And by doing that, first of all, I got a lot of good results that way, but also I just let go of it. And it was a true, like, I did just submit to it, that I'm like, I can't do everything. And actually I have coworkers who can do it. And so it was like a weird thing because I didn't really understand like dominance and submission as a thing. I didn't understand why people did it or particularly enjoyed it, because a lot of my life has been about keeping control over everything, including a bunch of stuff that I couldn't hope to control. So choosing which one I was going to do and allowing myself to be supported was a really powerful thing that happened in my life. And I did that at work. I did that in my music. I did that in, my personal relationships, really, where I had to just kind of give up on a lot of stuff very mindfully. So that's how I've seen it.
I wonder, does that process feel at all playful to you?
It does, actually, because one of the key aspects to being successful this way was to separate the negativity from it. The thing that was stressing me out was kind of trying to predict the future, making a bunch of assumptions, and being mad about it. Like, even if there was no actual thing that happened, I just was making predictions that didn't need to be made. And so by kind of letting go and being like, man, this is all fine. We got a plan. Let's see how it can go. I bet this person would really like to help me in this way, and I want to let them do that. And it becomes more of a opportunity than a problem, which is such corporate speak, but it's true. It's true. It's not a problem, it's an opportunity, but it's real.
Well, we know you're the corporate drone bot on the podcast.
Hey man, who wants to make some money? It's like my mantra at work now. I just go like, everybody chill out, man. Who wants to make some money? So, yeah, I'm a capitalist. Sorry, guys. At least I make a physical product.
That's true. I just make conflict. No, I resolve conflict. That's what it is. Conflict was already there.
Ultimately. But yeah, I think it's playful. I do. I think it, it's fun when there's problems to solve, and you're not mad about it. I mean, that's really the thing.
You say, I wonder, what if, let's try.
That's right.
For the people, the listeners who are not parents of small children, that's what they say on Sesame Street.
I wonder, what if, let's try. The whole song about it.
That's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
The dominance and submission are roles that you play, just like you said, Gina. Like we are, if we're acting with agency, we are always surrendering to the things that we can't control and taking charge of the things that we can all the time. Whatever role we're playing with, we're doing all of those things all the time. And so you can, if you want to play at being dominant, then you focus on the things that you can control. And if you want to play at being submissive, then you focus on the things that you're surrendering to. And you make it fun. And then everyone hopefully has a good time.
All right, now I see another note here that says men always have to be dominant and women always have to be submissive. So I'm glad we cleared that up.
I think you're misreading the outline.
Oh, is it? Is that not what that says?
I think what I said was you do not need to conform to rigid gender roles.
Oh.
Do it if you want to, but only if you want to. So, do whatever you want with gender roles. You can play around with those too. And if you like the traditional ones, then knock yourself out.
That sounds much nicer than the first salsa lesson I ever took. Where they were like, okay, so men lead.
Oh.
It's like, oh, I guess I will do that then.
That's how I felt at that. I think we went to the same salsa intro thing. And
could have been.
I am, it's one of those things where you go to the salsa night and they have like an hour beforehand where they're like, here, anyone can dance.
It's a free lesson.
And I am notoriously lousy at partner dancing because I want neither role most of the time, right? Like I
it's true.
I just, all the songs about dancing on your own are about me. Like that's there's two. I know two. So when I'm dancing, I love to dance, but I like to dance by myself or like amongst people, but not with people.
You dance energetically with people though. Like there's no one like following or leading. I have seen you do this.
Exactly.
You're like leaning in, leaning back. You've got this whole thing going on. You're just like not touching each other.
Right. But my point, like I don't,
and there's no steps.
Yeah.
Or moves.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, the music tells you what to do. I'm just going to do what the music tells me to do. And if you want to do that with me, awesome. If you don't, do your thing. And that's the thing. So I don't know how to lead in any traditional sense other than energetically, right? Where I could be like, this is awesome. I'm dancing. Woo. Yeah. This is my favorite song. Like that's how I do that.
It's my jam.
Oh, yeah. But I also I'm even worse at following. So like I can pick up on people's energy and certainly do that. I'll do the dumb, very fun, dumb dance moves on the dance floor, like the shopping cart, getting things off the. It's not video, so no one knows what I'm doing. The reel, send a fishing pole out, reel me in. I'll do that.
As the fish or as the fisher person?
Either way. It depends. Sometimes I'll have a fishing pole. I am a switch in the fishing example. A fish switch. Cry of the narwhal. But I do that. I have no interest in being led. And I'm always actively fighting it, because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm supposed to be able to read these signals from the other person where they're doing some very subtle thing with their hand that indicates that I'm supposed to go spin or something, and I have no idea. And they tell me what it is. They're like, when I do this, you do this, and I go, I don't.
But I don't want to.
What? Yeah. So it's very hard for me. So yes, you guys were talking about partner dancing recently, and I was like, yeah, I don't get it at all from a role standpoint, because I just refuse to exist within them.
Yeah, and those little silent signals and hints and things like that. Like, unless you have discussed them ahead of time, I don't, especially if you're doing anything that might like trigger someone or hurt someone, I don't recommend using those. You, like, be direct in your communication. If you're just messing around with partner dancing, whatever, you can miscommunicate and like trip over each other's feet. Like, that's fine. But yeah, I definitely recommend explicit communication as much as possible. That's why we have safe words, so that we can say like, no, stop, because we've agreed ahead of time that no, stop does not mean no, stop. It, you know, like banana is, you know, the stop word or whatever. So that is what means, you know, stop.
It's a terrible safe word. You might say banana during sex.
And I, of course, would just not use it and just be singing the Gwen Stefani song instead. The safe word's bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A. And then the whole thing would get off the rails. I mean, I guess it would be useful.
That's why safe words are individualized, because, you know, you have to choose something that you're not going to say normally.
We say banana a lot in this house, but
I know.
Blame Roxanne for that.
You have a very banana-oriented household.
They're very good for you.
Think of the potassium.
So this outline here is telling me that you can do this by yourself. Is that real?
Yeah, I've done most of mine by myself.
How do you do that?
So there's things like fantasy and, you know, just like sitting there thinking about stuff. You can write stories like erotica. You can incorporate masturbation if you want to like make it actually physically sexual. And that also kind of gets you in your body, which is its own, has its own benefit. You can also use various psychological modalities like parts work or whatever, and have different parts. I did one like sex magic ritual where I was like masturbating with my vibrator and like getting fucked by my inner critic, and so you can just like get creative, and like that really like fixed something in my head with my relationship with my inner critic. It was a whole thing. So you can do all kinds of stuff on your own. Yeah, like the sky is the limit there. You don't have to have a partner for any of this stuff.
What if you do have a partner?
If you do, then communication becomes extremely important, because they cannot.
I'm noticing
read
a theme here.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do mind reading unless that's part of the kink, and then like discuss it beforehand. Don't do mind reading in the scene. Yeah, communication, super, super important. You also need to like kind of keep the other person's needs in mind. So maybe you both want to do some healing for this. Maybe it's just one of you and the other one is a support person. So the support person needs to be sure that they are not kind of losing themselves in this support role. So whether you're the dominant or the submissive or neither one or whatever, you need to not do anything that you don't want to do. Like nobody should be doing anything that they don't want to do at any point in any of this stuff. Which means you need to know what you do and don't want. You need to not neglect your own needs. And you need to communicate what you need out of it. So if your partner is wanting to do some healing and is describing like some stuff that they want to do, you know, if you're like, ooh, I don't know about that one. I don't think I want to do that one. Don't do it. Like say, I need to not do that. Or if we do that, I think I need this thing. to make it to feel okay about it, which could be like something in the aftercare or something like that. Everybody, even the support person, also needs aftercare, which could be a debrief, or it could be some cuddling, or whatever you need for your aftercare. Make use of safe words, and safe words are useful in just psychological ways too. If you're doing things that, that could trigger something, have a safe word so you can say, let them know that you need to stop, rather than like finding yourself in a flashback or something terribly unpleasant like that.
Banana.
Exactly.
Ew, what's this about a spiritual practice? I don't care for those.
I know. You don't like the aesthetic of it or whatever. So like kink and any kind of sexuality can be a spiritual practice. And for me, it just is all the time, because for me, everything is a spiritual practice. Everything is also a sexual practice. They're both going on all the time at the same time in my head. Part of that is bringing it into alignment with your own values, and bringing your values into alignment with your kinks and your sexuality.
Well, how do you do that if you have a kink that is where like you want to experience something that you don't endorse?
So if it's an actual thing that is bad, that would be harmful to people, there are metaphorical ways to act that out.
But what if it's just like, oh, I want to be degraded, but I actually like don't endorse that outside of a kink context?
Well, then you kind of like negotiate between those parts of yourself. Like maybe if you think of it as play, you're playing at being degraded. You are not actually being degraded. You are creating a container where you feel safe being degraded. Then that is actually, practicing agency. A lot of times, if you think about like why you want to be degraded and why you object to it, and look at both of those things, a lot of times there is some middle ground where it works and it makes sense. So maybe you do a metaphorical kind of degrading, or maybe you realize that the issue that you have with being degraded is actually not such a hard and fast issue.
This all sounds pretty intuitive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Gina and I met in the theater. So, we're very familiar with playing roles that we don't necessarily endorse.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little kid, I did a theater camp and I got assigned a role and I didn't like the character and I cried about it. But I've since grown up since then. And I'm like, oh, wait, you can play a character. It doesn't mean you are the character.
Yeah.
I also often found that there was usually something interesting about the characters that I didn't necessarily like them. But I would find the things that intrigue them to explore and kind of make when I was doing a role. I would sit there and go like, okay, well, actually, this person has motivations for why they are doing these things. And I'm going to make the more interesting part of that.
Often motivations are easier to access in a different person than yourself.
Yeah. I always found that I was considerably more down for anything in a theatrical context. Like it just didn't matter. Like we had Wes and I were in Midsummer Night's Dream together at one point. It was the
what
worst
a production that was.
Was the worst production either of us have ever been in. But one of the reasons it was so bad was because I was cast as Titania, however you say her name. And the costume designer decided that because I was like the fairy queen, that I should basically be naked on stage.
Not naked, just topless.
Hold up. I know. It was like naked, but with lots of flowing stuff to trip on the like strange, like raked stage with lots of sharp corners. there's so much to it. We could just do an entire episode about how bad that production was.
You
However,
didn't even mention the tree.
the tree made out of welded metal, and it was like dangerous, and we all needed our tetanus shots.
They were like, we're going to cover it in like paper mache or something, so it's going to look like a tree. And then they were like, never mind. We'll just leave it as these poles.
It's like this geometric sculpture in the middle of the forest. And it was kind of sanded down, but the joints were pretty rough on everybody, on the barefoot fairies. Anyway, this is getting off topic. But the point was, she was like, the fairy queen should be basically naked. However, she didn't even ask me what I thought about that. Instead, she designed the most insane costume for me, which was a full body unitard, like with a hood. Like it was the full, like it had covered hands. It was like a full body suit that she then, and it was skin toned. So then she like painted boobs on it. and made like felt nipples and stuff. Because this
She's
was
not
somehow,
exaggerating. That's what the costume was.
It was. And I remember when she showed me the drawing, I was like, am I naked in this? And she was like, oh, no. You're going to have a suit with it. And I'm like, great.
And you're like, could I just be naked?
And I did. I at some point, and at that point, I mean, later on I would do burlesque, but this was not what I was doing at the time. But I was just like, yo, man, it's just a play. If you would like to just put me in sheer stuff, I will go out on stage like that. That will look 3,000 times better than this clown suit that you're putting me in. And nobody was game for it. So instead, we had to go out there and embarrass ourselves. And I remember I went out and we had they brought an 8th grade class, like a local 8th grade class. To see this show. And the director was like, do you want me to make an announcement before the show that you might look naked, but you're not? I was like, no. I'm like, please don't talk to the 14-year-olds about this. It's fine.
In fact, let's never bring this up again.
Anyway, so I was always very down. And in general, anything they were doing, I was like, whatever you want me to do. Like, just tell me, as long as it makes sense within the character, I will do that. That's fine. I only fought against stuff when I thought that it made no sense for the character I was portraying. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. But it was never about embarrassment or fear of being looked at, because I was a theater person. The one thing I wanted everyone to do was look at me. So I'm just like, yeah, they can look at me however I am. And I was far less comfortable doing that in my personal life, which is very interesting. Same thing with burlesque. Like, I would go out and have zero issue doing a burlesque act. But like, I never did that really for my partners. Like, in the privacy of our own, I don't do that. I don't know why. It's like so much more vulnerable that way. I think because I'm like really separated from it when I'm doing a theatrical piece. Just like, it's my character doing this. Yeah, but
Well, it sounds like that might be why some of this works in a healing context, because you can confront the thing that causes you trauma while maintaining some separation from it.
Yeah. So if you're being degraded, this isn't like you're not identifying with the character that's being degraded. You're playing a character that's being degraded.
You're not being degraded. Your character's being degraded.
Yeah.
And you're just playing that character.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes more sense.
Neat.
I never really understood like role playing from a kind of normie perspective, where they'd be like, and this person, you'll be the doctor and I'm the nurse. And I was like, why would we want to, what is this scene? I don't understand why this matters, but the context you're talking about, it makes much more sense to me. Like, why wouldn't you want to identify as a doctor?
the way they portray these things on like TV or whatever, obviously it looks ridiculous because you're not in their head. Like they are drawn to this for whatever reason. Theoretically, people who actually do those things are drawn to it for some reason. There are probably, if you were to try to get into kink, there would be things that you would find yourself drawn to. It might not be that, but whatever you're drawn to is going to be super sexy. It might not look sexy to anybody watching from the outside, though. And that's okay. but the other part of the spiritual practice thing. So a lot of people really have this disconnect between sexuality and spirituality, because like there are so many religions and stuff like that that are like, sex is bad. We never talk about sex. We don't do that stuff, or it's only like in these certain, approved ways or whatever. And I am not aware of any religions that are pro kink explicitly, although some of them have some weird.
You could just say the Catholics.
Catholics definitely lend themselves to kink thematically. There's so much fertile ground there. But the thing is, like, sexuality is like part of our nature. Like it's a huge part of us, and if we're trying to keep it separate from the rest of our lives, then we're not whole. And like kink and all this stuff is like a desire for healing and wholeness. And so playing around with this stuff and doing this healing is, spiritually healing and I don't know, just making us whole, healthy people.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing to do.
I think so.
And this is the last thing on our outline. Something about being able to do this in non-sexual context.
Yeah. So all of this can be done without any, sex. So the idea is to play with it, come at it from a different angle. You can learn to enjoy difficult, uncomfortable, unpleasant things in the same way that you would enjoy, pain if you're a masochist. You can, what did I put there? Okay. So for example, when I was going through my divorce and going into all these like divorce hearings, I was so stressed out, and it was like terrible and just like psychologically like awful and triggering and terrible. And I was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this as if, I'm being tortured physically in a scene. And I did, and it was great. And like, it was awesome. I also did it, getting tattooed. I was like, all right, I'm going to lean into this. Like my dom is, like poking me with millions of little needle pricks. And I did, and it was fantastic. So you can do all kinds of stuff. You can play roles in your life.
Man, that was not my experience of getting tattooed.
Well, you weren't being kinky enough about it, I guess.
Well, apparently not.
But I actually tried to practice doing that for my last tattoo, which was the right one to practice it on, because the artist was magical in her technique, like what she was able to do with the ink and everything like that. But it required this pretty pain-intensive technique that she would do. And I had talked to Mary a lot about this, because she's like, I'm getting a tattoo right now, and it's awesome. It's a pain that she was going through. I'm like, I love having tattoos because I get them because I like having them, but the actual process of them, I feel like a part of it is, it's like, well, it's good that it hurts because you don't do them lightly, right? Like, these are permanent markings, and there should be some sort of exchange for that, being like, okay, I'm doing this as an intentional choice I'm making. But one of the things I would do during sessions, especially when she was like coloring in parts of it, because she whipped out this like 25 needle wide, it was like a centimeter wide needle that meant that there were 25 little needles in there that she was basically using as a paintbrush to like do brush strokes on my skin, and it was excruciating. But at first, I would sit there and I would prep myself right before she would go back in. And I would say, like, this is going to feel great. This is going to be great. And it's almost as though that like made my body like put the endorphins out, just to like give me a little help right then, because it would feel better. It would turn into sort of warmth more than just pain. And then I think once the endorphins started going, I kind of got a little stoned from it. And then I was just like really into the whole process, you know, man. Like I was sitting there and I was texting Wes and Mary about this, what was happening. I'm like, man, you should see this technique, man. Like, wow. So it did change the experience to sort of embrace it instead of fighting against it. Because when I would, so it was a submission thing.
Yeah.
Because I think you're right. I was like, this woman this is her job. She's very good at it. And I'm just going to let her do the best she can. I'm not going to whine or anything like that. And I have an amazing tattoo because of it, and sort of enjoyed the process. Sort of. I can't say I fully did, but you know,
That's way better than I did.
baby steps.
Well, the whole time I was like, oh, I hate this so much.
Well, that's such a good example of like intentionally like deciding I am going to do this thing. That's the thing you do have control over. So you're being like dominant there, and then surrendering to it. That's the thing you don't have control over it, because the artist is working on you. And so you're doing them both at the same time, and you're focusing on whichever one feels, you know, more resonant for you. And yeah, so you're doing both at the same time to, you know, do things agentically. Yeah.
And she didn't turn me off to getting more tattoos. I want another one from her specifically. So, you know, Wes was like, I think this one's enough. He had the same artist for he's a rather large back piece that, the same artist did, and it's beautiful.
It is.
It's completely gorgeous. But I can see why it would make you never want to do it again. Because
It was a lot.
It's so hot though. But yeah, the last like thing about the thing on the outline is so we're kind of like, we sort of talked about it a little bit, but like we're uncovering the shadow. So we're taking these unconscious patterns, like these sort of unconscious desires, these kinks that show up and we don't know where they came from. And we're figuring out what they are and leaning into indulging them. So we've got to figure out what we want, these secret wants, and give ourselves what we want in some fashion. It does not have to be literal, but it creates this satisfaction that we're craving, that we're seeking, and it can help us work through things like bad patterns in our lives, like being in bad relationships or constantly losing jobs or being late all the time. But we're doing it playfully, so we don't have to actually lose our job or show up late or get into another bad relationship. We can play around and satisfy that underlying desire, and then we don't have to do the stuff that actually causes problems in our lives.
That's pretty awesome.
I think so.
Yeah, I feel like, well, so the last year has been for me about a lot of pattern breaking, or certainly attempts at it. Or I don't think we're ever 100% all the time, but breaking a lot of things.
There's definitely been a lot of pattern breaking,
and like being aware of what things are patterns and how they are indulged. So for me, a lot of it is sort of separate, because I think about it that way that you just described, but it's actually a little bit more, instead of indulging the pattern, asking like a very specific question about it, like figuring out what you want, right? Well, what are you so afraid of? Because most of the patterns I need to break are that they result in these anxiety loops that I can't always define. what it is. It's like this existential fear of something that I'm not sure about. And I started doing a practice of sort of the fantasy was, okay, what happens if you just accept this for what it is? Like if it's about like relationships with people or whatever. And you go, what happens if the worst thing you can think of is happening? You know, in my case, it was like, what if they are telling all of their friends that I'm a bad person? That's a basic thing. And at first this was really hard. I didn't want to face that. But eventually I asked that question and I'd be like, well, I mean, you know, the middle part was, well, I mean, I am according to their definition. So I guess it's already happened. And then even better, though, was the late stage answer to that question, which is, I mean, that they can do that. That's fine. And I would have this like imagine like the fantasy that the image I got in my mind was like me, I don't know, a few years from now or something, literally sitting in the middle of a field, like, I don't know, grilling or something without like
just grilling some meat.
Grilling some meat for people I like, and having not a care in the world about any of it. And then when I realized that I do that all the time now. And I'm already doing it. I was like, oh, I'm living that sort of fun fantasy. So I started asking those questions more often and being way less afraid to answer them because I don't care in the same way because I wasn't letting it be about who I am. It was just about what is, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing, you know, that kind of thing. And so it was a really interesting experience because I didn't do it in like a traditionally like kinky, like in a sexual context. But I was torturing myself daily.
In the not fun kind of way.
Not a fun way at all. And couldn't figure out, like, you know, basically Wes would ask me all the time, I was like, why are you doing this? What do you get out of this? And eventually, like, I could never really answer it. I was like, I think I deserve it, you know? And once I just stopped asking saying, you know, or trying to define what the hell deserve means, it's like a meaningless concept. Once I let go of that, then it was much easier to accept everything and then just go do what I want. And
isn't that the goal of everything?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Just go do what you want.
we most likely only have this life, right? So we don't know what happens after this.
Your spiritual practices aside.
It's just useful to assume this is what you get, so you got to do it now. And
YOLO, baby.
Yeah, that's my original take. Okay, YOLO. Go grill some meat in the field. Okay, that's my kink. I guess that's my kink. Yeah.
See, you're getting it.
Meat preparation. Suck it, vegetarians. Just kidding. I'm very good at vegetables too.
I will convert you guys to kinkiness one of these days.
All right. Well, does anyone else have anything more to say before we let Gina take us out?
Nope.
All right. Well, that was episode 2 of our new and exciting podcast, coming out hot with a whole episode about kink. I think this is great because we went from like kind of a wholesome, like a really wholesome episode about like polyamory and like the glory and joy of polyamory, and then we went right into kink.
What is unwholesome about kink?
It is.
I love that you think polyamory is wholesome.
Our framing of it was because we were talking about this like essay. All right, never mind.
This is the most wholesome framing of kink I've ever seen in my life.
You're right. Never mind. I take it back. I take it back. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We seem to be motivated, so hopefully we'll have this episode out soon, and I bet we'll be recording another one real fast based on how much fun this is. So, hooray. I don't know how to end this.
If you want to learn more about this, you can contact Mary Zoso Sex Coach at the link in the show notes. She's available for one-on-one coaching. She does one day workshops and multi-day classes that you can sign up for. It's all online, and she works on a sliding scale. So no matter what your income or wealth level is, you should be able to afford it.
And I believe she has an entire workshop or possibly whole class devoted exactly to this entire topic that we've been talking about today.
I have a whole series of workshops devoted to various aspects of what we talked about today.
Well, there you go.
Coming soon.
There you go. What are you waiting for? Why aren't you filling out her form right now?
Get some sex and sensibility, my friends.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next episode.
Bye.